Hello and welcome back to World of Warcraft and another Gold Challenge Mode dungeon run. My name's Lumin and right now it's time for Skyreach. And once again, before I get started, our composition consists of myself, a Protection Paladin, Zohi, a Discipline Priest, Luthira, an Enhancement Shaman, Merving, a Marksmanship Hunter, and Mikai, a Beastmaster Hunter. So Skyreach. Skyreach was pretty interesting because the trash was by far more dangerous than every single boss in this instance. I felt like all the bosses were actually really simple once you understood the mechanics, and understanding the mechanics on the bosses wasn't all that hard, especially if you did them on normal or heroic or mythic before that. Now getting started here, right from the very beginning, all the Arakoa that you fight with these lighter feathers, they're always your top priority. You can see we DPS'd or we focused the initiate of the Rising Sun down immediately because they do heals. And those heals are super annoying. They can, if I'm not mistaken, almost heal themselves up from empty to full, like instantly. Otherwise, and other than that, these packs just consist of a lot of stuff you gotta move out of. Most of their abilities you can't interrupt with your normal interrupts, but you can stun all these dudes. So again, capacitor totems, bind-in shots, and bind-in shots are awesome here because you can kite them around and move out of those danger zones constantly. Now you can see Luthira ran up ahead on the left-hand side there to Hex, the Herald of the Rising Sun. He was once again one of those light-colored ones. He also does the heal. When you're taking this pack on, you need to watch out at the back where you pulled them from for the patrol that walks by. You can see the timing was pretty okay for us here. We sort of got one or two of them down by the time the patrol came, so we could safely pull the patrol, because you kind of want to get it before it moves back. If you don't get it before it moves back, then you either have to wait because it walks into a different pack over there, or you need to pull it with the next pack, and that causes problems, like cascading problems down the line. Now we still keep in the Herald of Sunrise CC'd, like we don't want to fight that just yet, not with the rest of these at least, because there's lots of stuff to interrupt and dodge and just, well, generally be careful of. I was even disorientated there for a moment, but I kind of expected that and I just saved my human racial for it. Now, there's one little mob here called a Life Pact Familiar. It's on the left hand side of the screen right now. That's one that we didn't fully anticipate or expect would be such a problem for us in these runs. We didn't really know what it did. Okay, so again, we didn't spend that much time trying these. So we knew there was lots of AoE to dodge here, there was lots of stuff on the ground to dodge here, but we didn't realize that the Life Pack Familiar healed mobs from empty to full. You can see it's actually just been a little nuisance over there. It's busy attacking, I think it was attacking our healer, one of our DPS randomly. It doesn't do any damage itself, but when a mob nearby it gets low, it just sort of sacrifices itself to heal it up fully, and it just wastes time for you. So if you can, and in that fight it wasn't such a big deal, like it didn't waste us too much time, but if you can, you should try and either focus them down immediately, or just keep everything else stunned, and then like kill them all at the same time, or something like that. It's tough. It's a tough thing to do. Now, with this pack specifically here, we decided to just pull it up and take it on with the boss, because poor Ranjit here, he's a bit of a pushover. He doesn't do that much damage. His abilities are easy to dodge. I don't know, he just doesn't do very much that's tough to deal with, much like all the other bosses in this instance. So we took the mobs on with the boss. It saved us some time. It gave our DPS a little more to do. It allowed us to do something while the boss was charging around his platform here. I think it is a little risky doing this, and at the end of this run, we didn't really need to make up all the extra time we made up, but we wanted to be, safe rather than sorry. So when you do pull these mobs, if you decide to pull them, DPS them down first and just cleave on the boss. And then once all of them are dead, then you take the boss on. But again, all the abilities that this boss has, like 4 winds here, and the chakram things that he throws on the ground, they are incredibly easy to dodge. He does lens flare, which is that beam that focuses on one DPS at a time, and that's just as easy to dodge, especially if you're a hunter. Of course, you can see Merving has absolutely no trouble with it. You don't want to kite that towards the other DPS, you want to take it sort of off to the side of the room, but the boss itself, he goes down super quickly, and for us, it seemed like the right idea to pull the other mobs with the boss. Now here you want to pull the Dread Raven separately from the other groups. You got to pull it exactly in the middle, like when it's exactly at the top of those stairs in the middle there, because it can potentially pull the other packs with it. And the Dread Ravens, they are a problem sometimes, because they do this knockback. They knock you over them, and then they knock you again like a second later. Okay, so with this guy specifically, I decided to tank him against the 2 barriers here at the bottom of the stairs. They kind of helped, but they don't really help because you can still get knocked off, especially if you don't move quick enough. And that's the biggest danger here. Getting knocked off slows you down so much because you have to run from all the way at the start There's no save point yet. So it's really important that you don't get knocked down there. Some groups actually tank them in the middle of the arena where you fight the boss. That kind of works as well, but it's even more risky because he knocks you twice in a row. Now this next pack, I'm spending too much time talking about the Raven. This next pack again, the light feathered one. It sounds kind of racist towards the Arakoa, but always focus the light feathered one down. They are the problematic ones. They always have the big heals. Right there, you may or may not have seen that the Initiative of the Rising Sun went from 0 health to full health instantly, and that's what you want to avoid. We fortunately didn't have too much trouble taking the group down after he healed up, but it still does waste some time. And if you have things like Capacitor Totem or Bind-In Shot or just single target stuns, you know, I've got, in this instance here, I'm using Blinding Light and my normal stun, which is Hammer of Justice or Fist of Justice or whatever. So you want to use those and target that mob specifically, because again, most of the stuff you can't actually interrupt with normal interrupts. Now, when you move on to the second boss, there's this Skyreach Archaeologist that you gotta kill. I suppose you can pull him with the previous pack. Like, we could have gotten a hunter to pull him or something, because he doesn't do anything. He doesn't do really very much damage. He has hardly any life, but once you kill him, the boss activates, and we chose to tank the boss here, and I chose, this was a choice that I made, to just take all the smashes to my face, because this is the boss we use heroism on, and I wanted to just keep the boss right there in position. I wanted to DPS as hard as I possibly could while allowing our DPS to do the same thing, to just nuke him down as fast as possible, because once again, like many of the other bosses, I didn't really understand all the mechanics here. I just knew that DPS or tanks, someone needed to absorb those beams that come from the robots there, and you know, if you do that, then bad things don't happen. Again, mechanics are not my strong suit. I just know that the smashes do a little bit of extra damage to you when he attacks you with them. The burst does decent AoE damage to your entire party, which is kind of difficult to heal. And when your party members or you are absorbing those beams, then you also take a little bit of stacking damage. But the boss itself, he goes down pretty quick if you do pop heroism. And our whole group did do decent enough DPS here. I think that the biggest stresses in this fight are probably on the tank and healer, just because staying alive is tough and keeping your party mates alive is even more tough. I'm telling you right now, every burst that goes by does more damage, so you kind of want to try and take the boss down before the 4th burst, because I think the 4th one will probably just one-shot the party, or at least one-shot the DPS, and then, well, you're done at that point anyway, unless you get really lucky. But there you go. I'm sorry I don't have much more to say about that boss. I did not know what to do. I mean, that's clear, because I was just standing in all the smashes and stuff. I don't know, what can I say? Authentic experience. Now, the next trash here, pretty tough. These little birds, they may seem like they're easy, or they may seem at first glance like they shouldn't be a big deal or whatever, but they do a lot of damage and they fixate. They fixate on DPS, and they just, like, scatter off in random directions. If you're DPS, scatter off in random directions, and they make themselves hard to kill. I think that the best strat here is actually just stacking. You just stack, and if you have personal cooldowns, you use them, and you use all the stuns and stuff you have. Now, at this point, we did not have the double capacitor totem yet. I think we started using double capacitor totem on our second last run, like on our 6th out of 8 challenge mode dungeon, which is very disappointing because it would have been great here, it would have been amazing here, but things like Capacitor, Shadow Fury from Warlocks, Bind-In Shot from Hunters, and again from Protection Paladins, Blinding Light, and your regular stuns, they help out quite a lot here. You want to stun them and keep them stunned as long as possible and just nuke them down, because they don't have that much life, but they do a lot of damage. So once you take those two groups on the sides out, and you can take them out together if you have enough AoE stun and you like have enough trust in your DPS abilities, or if you have like Gorfien's Grasp. Gorfien's Grasp is enough. You just pull them in, stun them all in place, and that's that. But once you take them out, there's just this one group left. This group is tough because as the Whisperer, that's the one Arakoa, the bigger one, casts Excite, like as he keeps casting it, then these little things keep doing more and more damage. So if you don't take them out quick enough, then they just do an insane amount of damage by the end of it, and they'll just start one-shotting people. So again, same situation as the previous group. You want to disable, you want to stun, whatever, and if you can pull them all at the same time, all three of those groups, that's great. That's amazing. Once the boss comes, you fight him. There's not much to say about this boss as well, just like the others. There's not much to say. It's the same mechanics as the other versions of this dungeon, where he spawns these little birds that follow your DPS or your healers around, and you just gotta kite them, and if you have to kill them, don't kill them on the little ash piles, because then when they respawn double, so there are 2 of them that respawn. He casts quills, and that's his only other noteworthy ability. I decided to bubble up, because I wasn't going to use bubble anywhere else. I bubbled, I did a little bit of extra damage, and then only I ran behind the pillar, and that's the way you avoid it. You just run behind the pillar while quills is up. I ran out a little early once again, because I had shields and stuff on me, I could take it, and I want to kill the boss as quick as possible. As a tank, that's pretty much it. Like, he does pierce armor, but for the most part, I think that just gets mitigated entirely. It doesn't really do anything to you. The most important thing is not to get caught in the quills when they actually cast in, like without any immunities or whatever. He keeps casting pierce armor on me and it keeps doing nothing. I think that's because I have Shield of the Righteous up for the most part and it just gets avoided completely. Here's the second quill. As you can see, the boss is very low at this point already. There are only 2 solar flares following our DPS round. They're doing a very good job. Again, hunters. The ridiculous mobility that hunters have is just so useful here. You can let the little solar flares attack you a little bit. They don't do that much damage, but again, if there are too many of them, then it gets to be a problem. It becomes a pretty big problem. But there you go, boss down. I think we handled that one incredibly well. This part here kind of bugged out for us. You can see that the wind is not showing. I don't know why it's not displaying. It hadn't happened before. This was the first time it happened, so we kind of had to wing it. We had to guess where to run. Moving was having a little bit of trouble there because he was all the way on the side. Basically, you don't want to run against the side. If you run against the side, there's a stronger gust of wind there that'll keep pushing you back. You want to run sort of in the middle. Unfortunately, we had done this a couple of times, so we knew exactly where to run, but when the animations are there, then it's just this wind that's blowing you back, blowing you back, blowing you back, and slowing you down constantly. So you got to run up there. It just takes a bit of time. Again, we're focusing on the light-colored one, the Adept of the Dawn. In this group specifically, the Solar Magnifier, that's that little robot on the left there. He's also a little bit of a problem. You got to stun and interrupt him when he casts Empower on something. The Life Pact Familiar, he needs to be focused down as well. Like I said at the start, we didn't realize that here. And at this point, I took way too long to get rid of that Empower, but I guess at the same time it didn't matter because, well, all the other mobs he was trying to empower were dying or dead. Now, you may have spotted the Raven there, okay, the one last Raven that's in our way before the final boss. We're not going to kill him. We just got our completion done. We are about to do our invisibility potion run here, and it was important to see which way the Raven was going because you want to avoid it. You want to try and get a little closer so you could run as far as you can with your invisibility pot here. We basically skip in 1 pack plus 1 big dude at the top of the stairs and the Raven in doing this run, and I thought this was the best place to do it. I hadn't seen anyone else do it here. I know some groups skip some of the packs at the start, and there are some exploits and stuff that you can do where you can just jump over walls and stuff there, but this worked well for us. It was the easiest execution possible. Now the final boss, High Sage Virix. He was also kind of easy, and with him we were supposed to have heroism here, but we were a little bit quick with our run, which I suppose is not really a problem, so we ended up not using it at all. He casts a couple of things. The most noteworthy of the bunch probably Cast Down. It's that Solar Zealot that he summons that grabs one of your party members and then drags them off towards the edge. And if it does get to the edge, it drops them off and they just die instantly. Then he also casts Solar Flare or Lens Flare. It's the same as what Ranjit does, which is the first boss. Exactly the same thing, you can see it back there. And finally, he summons this Skyreach Shield construct, which shields him. And you can just CC that, interrupt that, stun that, and just focus on the boss. You don't need to kill the construct. You don't, at all. You just ignore it completely. All you actually need to DPS is the Solar Zealot when it takes your party member and the boss itself. He also does this little solar burst thing, which, I don't know. I don't know what that does. It seems to do AoE damage, but it doesn't even really do enough to get through our shields from our Disciplined Priest, so it's not really a big deal. I'm not sure. Okay, but that was not a problem for us. You can see we took down the shield construct by just cleaving it, and then immediately another one spawned at the back. The hunters were quick enough to use a trap on it, stun it in position, and when it does start casting the shield, fortunately enough, I have an interrupt ready for it, so I ran up to it, just interrupted it, it stops immediately, and that's that. You continue focusing the boss down. Super, super easy. Like, if you get to this point with, I don't know, 2 minutes to spare maybe, you know you're in the green and you know you're okay. I just kept thinking most of the way through, and like, after this run was done, that it was a little bit of a pushover where the bosses were concerned, but the trash can be such a huge problem if you're not coordinated well enough. But there you go. That's gold on Skyreach. This one was also pretty fun, not for the same reasons as something like Grimrail Depot. I actually enjoyed the trash on that. This one, it requires a very well-coordinated team. Lots of stuns and interrupts and stuff like that, but again, I'm finished. Check back here soon for more. Give it a like, share it, and do other good stuff. Most importantly though, happy gold on Skyreach, and happy Warlords challenge modes. Happy that.